Think about what it means to leave your mark, that fundamental human desire, to be remembered long after we're gone.
It's such a core part of us, isn't it?
Wajahat Khan Lodhi kicks off his memoir, My Life, by hitting on this very thing, the wish to leave some kind of trace.
A really powerful drive.
Hmm.
This innate yearning to connect with the future, to not just vanish. And his memoir, My Life, it offers us this remarkable window into one person's way of dealing with that.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we've both spent, well, quite a bit of time with excerpts from Mr. Lodhi's account.
Hmm.
Our aim is pretty straightforward but ambitious, to follow the arc of his life as he tells it, pinpointing those crucial moments, the things that reveal his character,
Right.
all set against this incredible backdrop of a changing India and, well, the eventual creation of Pakistan. It's a very personal story, but it's woven into these huge historical shifts.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating to learn, as the memoir tells it, about the initial hurdle he faced just getting started with the writing, these severe hand cramps he developed later in life. They threatened to, silence the story before he could even tell it.
Imagine that frustration. A lifetime of experiences, this clear desire to document them, and then a physical thing standing right in the way.
Yeah.
It really makes you appreciate the advent of computers in his life. They became this unexpected key, really, that unlocked his ambition to get his story down.
It's a great point. Without that tech, maybe we wouldn't have this account.
Okay, so let's dive right into the beginning then. His early years, family life in the Kumaon region.
Yeah, his memories of Nainital, they create such a vivid sense of place. You get the beauty, the lake, those surrounding pine forests. It sounds almost idyllic.
Like a picture postcard, yeah.
But then he layers in these really grounded details, like the sulfur spring or that unforgettable bedbug problem they had in their timber house in Butcherkhana.
Oh, the bedbug story. His father, Abaji, trying to outsmart them with bowls of water under the bed legs.
You can just picture it.
This earnest effort, and the bugs just completely ignoring it. Climbing the walls, dropping down anyway. A bit of unexpected humor there amidst the daily grind.
It's exactly those kinds of small human details that make the past feel so real, so relatable. And later, when they moved to government housing in Nainital, that brought a completely different set of sensory experiences.
A different world, almost.
That stunning view, of course, but also the daily rhythm of the infantry battalion's parade and that bagpipe band making its ceremonial march to the governor's house.
Yeah, he describes the sound of that music echoing through the valley. He really brings that auditory scene to life.
It's quite a contrast, though, to the difficulties the family encountered with his mother's illness. The medical world back then, early 20th century, was just so different.
Oh, completely.
The initial reliance on Unani Tib, that traditional system of medicine, and that arduous journey all the way to Delhi for treatment.
Imagine that trip.
Only for it to be unsuccessful in the end. It really underscores the limitations, the medical knowledge back then, and the lengths families would go to.
Desperate for a cure, any cure.
And then that pivotal moment, hearing about the X-ray machine in Jagadri, it must have felt like a real breakthrough.
Finally, a modern approach.
And Dr. Sutherland discovering the kidney stone. A tangible explanation at last.
But even with that diagnosis, the path forward wasn't simple, was it?
No, not at all. That internal struggle he describes, the doctor recommending surgery, but then the advice from a Hakim in Delhi saying no.
A real clash of old and new, traditional and modern.
And that delay, as the memoir suggests, it ultimately had really serious consequences.
Which leads to that dramatic scene in the Jagadri Mission Hospital. Dr. Sutherland concluding his mother was just too weak for the operation.
Yeah. But what's really striking is her reaction. He says she was so cheerful, so full of life, even right then in that critical state.
Amazing resilience.
It really speaks volumes, doesn't it? Dr. Sutherland himself apparently believed her positive spirit was a big factor in keeping her going, despite how severe things were.
A powerful testament to, well, the human will, I suppose.
Truly.
Okay, let's turn to his education then, and the transitions in his early life. His excitement about returning to Haldwani for those final days of Ramadan and the upcoming Eid. You can almost feel his anticipation.
Oh, yeah. The joy of being reunited with his mother, his younger brother Iqbal, his sister Nuria. He includes these poignant details, the new clothes his mother had stitched for them.
Small things, but they mean so much.
But there's also this subtle undercurrent of sadness, isn't there? Knowing that after that visit, he'd never actually live in Haldwani again.
A really bittersweet memory held so vividly all those years later. Then his time at Jamia, that clearly made a huge impression on him.
The disciplined life there, yeah.
But that was cut short when his father got transferred to Bareilly.
And he notes the contrast, the different atmosphere in Bareilly compared to where he'd lived before. It's a reminder that even within the same region, places had their own distinct feel.
And the fact that money troubles, financial constraints stopped him from going back to Jamia, that must have been a real blow.
You can sense the disappointment there. And then that really difficult decision leaving his younger siblings behind in Delhi with relatives.
Yeah.
And him returning to Bareilly just with his father. He describes their shared sorrow, the quiet emptiness of the house. And it's a very poignant moment. It conveys this real sense of disruption, of being uprooted, even before the huge displacements of partition came later. Definitely. His move to Lucknow for further studies brought a whole new set of experiences, didn't it?
Yeah, the sensory details again. The sound of the Urdu spoken there, he calls it sweet. And the novelty of the horse-drawn transport, the Eka.
A completely new city, a different vibe. But again, that initial sadness being separated from family.
Thankfully, their eventual move closer to Aminabad Park seems to have helped. That's when a more active social life started, with his cousins.
And you get those charming glimpses into daily life in Lucknow, Mr. Dasker serving tea, the conversations about the war heating up in the West.
Paints a picture of a close-knit community, yeah, even with global events looming.
And that joyful summer holiday he mentions in Mustafabad with the extended family. The delight over the new baby for Hatullah Khan. The way he describes the life there as primitive, but deeply affectionate, communal. Sounds like a real haven.
Like stepping back in time, maybe, but rich in connection and warmth.
And we don't forget his uncle, Masha Allah Khan, in Mustafabad, a self-taught medical practitioner.
Right.
Whose clinic was much more than just a place for treatment.
Exactly. It was like a central hub for the community, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A place to share news, discuss things. Really highlights the importance of those local centers, especially in smaller places.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, shifting gears a bit to his marriage and some of the personal challenges he faced. His engagement to his cousin Ghazali when he was just 18.
So young.
It really underscores the cultural norms back then, the strong influence of elders' decisions in these things, and his own admission that he didn't really understand much about marriage at that age.
It was just what was expected, the path laid out, almost a sense of accepting his fate, it sounds like.
Pretty much. And then looming over this is his Uncle Rashid's illness, tuberculosis,
TB.
and his untimely death. A real tragedy that then plunged the family into very difficult financial straits.
A stark reminder of how precarious life could be, the economic vulnerability. And this personal loss is happening against this backdrop of growing political unrest.
Which brings us right to the crucial period of the partition and his subsequent displacement.
His unexpected journey to Najibabad is quite the story. Literally jumping onto a moving train.
Crazy.
And that chance encounter with the kind railway guard, Hamid Nabi Khan. It almost sounds like something out of an adventure novel.
Hamid Nabi Khan, described as RAEs, a nobleman, basically offering him food and shelter. Just an act of unexpected generosity.
Amazing kindness.
And all the while, these discussions about India's partition are happening. But many people, like Lodhi mentions, still found it hard to really believe it would happen.
The sheer scale of what was coming hadn't fully sunk in for a lot of people yet, it seems.
No. And his onward journey to Mustafabad in Punjab to celebrate Eid involved another helpful railway guard.
Get out!
Hamid Nabi Khan's own brother.
Small world, even then.
Another instance of just unexpected kindness and human connection during this time of growing uncertainty, and then arriving in Mustafabad, surprising his aunt and family. A brief moment of normalcy, maybe, amidst all the anxiety.
Yeah, a pause before everything changed. The political landscape then was just incredibly dynamic. Coalition governments, constant debates about creating Pakistan, Nehru, and Liaquat Ali Khan's budget.
It must have been a period of both intense excitement and deep unease, depending on who you were and where you stood.
For sure. And then that pivotal news, on August 15th, 1947, during the Friday prayers, Jamaat-ul-Wida, the birth of Pakistan.
But interestingly, he recounts the initial lack of any big visible reaction, suggesting that the full weight, the full implications of independence hadn't really hit the general population yet.
It took time for the reality to settle in. Their journey back to Lucknow after partition brought the first subtle signs of change, like the railway guards wearing new uniforms.
Little things, yeah. And then that unexpected opportunity crops up to accompany Uncle Valullah's family on their move from Delhi all the way to Karachi.
A huge decision. A sudden shift in his own path, putting him right in the middle of those massive population movements after partition.
The preparations for a journey like that must have been incredibly frantic, filled with both hope and, well, a lot of fear.
The train journey itself sounds terrifying. Chaotic, dangerous, armed guards on board, that British captain giving a stark warning to the crowds.
You can almost feel the tension, the uncertainty in the air. It paints a really vivid picture of the upheaval and the very real risks involved in traveling then.
Finally reaching Lahore, the emotional welcome he describes. A sense of arrival, maybe, but into a still very uncertain future.
And their first place to stay, that allocated quarter in the Dio Samaj complex near Krishan Nagar.
But even there, in their new beginning, they immediately face this challenge, the sudden flood.
Right. And his quick thinking, his resourcefulness in getting that boundary wall broken down to release the water probably prevented a much worse situation.
Shows his initiative, thinking on his feet, and then the harsh reality hits trying to find work in Lahore.
Yeah, those locked-up shops owned by Hindus who'd left, the desperate need for income in this completely disrupted economy.
A city just reeling from massive change, a new economic reality trying to emerge from the chaos. His application for that position in the irrigation department in Lahore becomes this really critical moment.
That demanding test, especially after a significant break from his studies.
Must have been nerve-wracking.
The tense wait for the results. Agonizing, I imagine. And then the surprising news, excellent performance, and getting the appointment.
Wow. A huge personal victory amidst so much wider uncertainty.
A real mix of luck and his own hard work paying off there.
Definitely. However, his first posting to Thal Canal Circle wasn't quite the positive start he might have hoped for, was it?
No, that encounter with the superintending engineer sounds pretty disheartening.
A reminder that even with a new job, a fresh start, workplace dynamics and personalities can throw up unexpected hurdles.
True, but his next posting to Darajat Circle in Multan, that brought that serendipitous meeting with his uncle Jamil.
Right. And the unexpected news about his uncle Valiullah Khan being seriously ill there. A moment of crucial family connection and support in a totally new place must have been a real comfort.
Absolutely. And then the surprise arrival of his own father in Lashari.
Bringing that huge news, Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. Another massive historical event intersecting directly with their personal lives.
Reshaping the future again. And hearing about his father's long journey via Bombay, the family members still back in Lucknow. The ties to their old life were obviously still strong, even across the new borders.
It took time for families to regroup. Gradually, more members started arriving in Pakistan, including his brother Iqbal.
Those slow reunions, piecing lives back together in this new country, must have been incredibly emotional.
And then, out of the blue, that overseer's certificate from Roorkee arrives, sent by his former Hindu teacher, Mr. Bhattacharya.
That's just a remarkable story, a real act of kindness and professionalism that transcended all the political division and a huge turning point for his career prospects.
A powerful reminder of those personal bonds. Following that, there's the dramatic incident with the canal gates being closed at Lashari.
Yeah, that sounds genuinely dangerous, the threat of flooding, his leadership mobilizing the men during that heavy downpour.
And managing to get the gates open. Another clear example of him stepping up, taking charge under pressure.
Definitely resourceful. But despite these successes in the irrigation department, he makes that big decision to resign and move to Karachi.
That drive again, seeking better opportunities.
A common story for many, trying to build a life in the new Pakistan. And that rather funny anecdote about meeting his wife's relative, Baji.
Oh, the rickshaw ride.
And the challenge of fitting her into the rickshaw. A nice moment of lightness amidst the serious business of settling in.
It does add a welcome touch of humor. And then the really pivotal moment, finally receiving his matriculation certificate from India.
The key that unlocked the next door.
Which allowed him to apply for the army.
A seemingly small piece of paper, but it changed everything for his future direction. The swift call-up notice, resigning from his job, getting ready for officer training in Kohat. That's a massive shift.
You can imagine the mix of emotions, the pride, the excitement, maybe some apprehension too for him and his family.
Huge. His journey to Kohat and those initial challenges of training? The harsh weather, he mentions?
And that funny story about Captain Amin's very colorful reprimand during a drizzly morning. Humor in uniform, as he puts it.
Huh. Those kinds of anecdotes really bring the training experience to life, don't they? His selection for the Corps of Engineers, the demanding training in SEALCOT.
The bridging exercises, assessing flood damage, it sounds incredibly rigorous.
Physically and mentally taxing, for
Yeah.
sure. And then finally, getting commissioned as a second lieutenant and posted to Azad Kashmir, a whole new phase starts.
His responsibilities there as mechanical transport officer, dealing with those old World War II vehicles.
Temperamental, I bet.
Keeping them running must have been a constant challenge, required a lot of ingenuity.
And that rather random way he quit smoking, just a casual challenge from colleagues.
It's funny how small things like that stick. A dare turns into a lifelong change.
It really is. Then we get to the complex situation around his second marriage, the Khurshid. Well, he was still married to Ghazali.
Yeah, he emphasizes the emotional complexities, the family's deep involvement in arranging that first meeting.
It gives real insight into the social norms, the family dynamics of that time and place. His wedding to Khurshid, the leave he took afterwards, that really marked the beginning of a new family unit for him.
And the joyful arrival of his first son with Khurshid Saifullah Khan, or Para, as they called him.
The immense joy a new baby brings. And that lovely detail about the old woman who became part of their household, just wanting to care for the baby.
Such touching little moments of human connection. Then there was that big cultural event, the Indian cricket team visiting Pakistan.
Huge deal. The nationwide enthusiasm mostly followed through radio commentary back then.
A shared excitement that briefly crossed the borders, maybe a sign of yearning for normalcy.
Could be. His next posting was Peshawar, and that's where his younger son, Saidullah Khan, or Mimi, arrived. Around the same time, Pakistan was officially declared an Islamic Republic.
Another significant national milestone coinciding with his personal life changes.
And his return to Kohat later, as AG. He mentions a good working relationship with Mr. Afaq Hussain Siddiqui and Colonel Zia. Seems like a period of relative professional stability.
Followed by more military training in Quetta, which brought that health scare with his hands and arms.
A reminder of the physical toll his life experiences were taking.
And then the very emotional trip Khurshid and the children took back to India, finally seeing her parents after so many years apart.
Those family ties, still so strong despite the borders and the time past.
Absolutely. His promotion to major came next, and a posting as officer commanding 91 Field Company in Peshawar. More responsibility.
And the happy reunion with his family when they returned from India. He describes their life in Peshawar then as comfortable, content with their 3 young sons.
A period of seeming stability and happiness. But life always brings changes, like the retirement of their beloved orderly, Muhammad Khan.
The affection they clearly had for him really shines through. Speaks volumes about the bonds formed in that household.
Those relationships can be so strong. And then that really touching story Khurshid tells about asking him about getting a new wife.
Oh, right.
And little Saifi's innocent, but kind of profound, reply. Just a sweet glimpse into their family life.
Shows the children's perspective, their understanding. Then the preparations for Khurshid and the children's trip to DG Khan, and young Saifi showing surprising responsibility.
Growing up fast.
It's heartwarming seeing those little signs of maturity. His own brief loneliness after they left, Zakalabai visiting. It underscores that even strong people feel the absence of loved ones.
And then comes the absolute devastation, that horrific bus accident at the Indus Boat Bridge.
Unimaginable.
Yeah.
Khurshid and their 2 younger sons, Saifi and Obaid, known as Tony, gone, just like that.
His description of the grief, the
Yeah.
guilt, it's incredibly raw, painful to read. You just feel the immense weight of that loss.
A shattering blow. Following something like that, his meeting Tahawar, the subsequent proposal and marriage, must have been such a complex emotional time, starting anew in the shadow of such profound sorrow.
A new beginning, yes, but forged in terrible loss. The arrival of his stepson, Saadi, their life together in Rislapur while he pursued his engineering degree. Another big life transition.
And the setback of not passing his final exam then. The posting to Lahore. Life keeps moving, keeps throwing challenges.
The introduction of Tahawar's brother Pervez, later Sajid Ali Khan, their visits, build new family connections, new support systems.
His posting to GHQ in Rawalpindi brought another change, a different side of military life.
And their move there, the anecdotes about family life, Iqbal's visits, those connections remain vital. And finally, his graduation as an engineer.
A huge personal achievement after all that time and effort.
But then the political tensions rise again, leading to the 1965 war. His company gets involved in preparations, he heads to the front.
Even that strange detail about the bats near Ahmedabad suddenly vanishing.
Right. A vivid, slightly surreal image of wartime disruption.
And his company's dangerous job preparing bridges for demolition.
Yeah.
But also that unexpected kindness from villagers bringing them food.
Humanity shines through even in conflict. Those moments stand out.
The end of the war, his reunion with Tahawar and Saadi in Karachi, must have been immense relief after the danger and uncertainty.
And buying that Skoda car may be a small symbol of returning to some kind of normalcy?
Perhaps.
Ah.
His posting to Quetta followed, and that dramatic incident with John Aga's Land Rover accident. Life never seemed dull.
Never a quiet moment, it seems. And then the later postings, Peshawar again, back to GHQ, then Multan as Commander MES Army. A career full of movement and increasing seniority.
Until his transition to the civilian sector, working for Gammon Pakistan in Rawalpindi, and yet another brush with danger, that near-fatal bus accident in Karachi during an assignment.
His life really was a tapestry, wasn't it? Remarkable successes woven with profound trials and near misses. His work on big projects for Gammon, like the Karachi shipyard and Port Qasim. A significant final phase in his professional life.
Which takes us up to around 1983, when the company started facing financial problems, signaling the close of that particular chapter.
Yeah. What an absolutely incredible journey we've just traced. Wajahat Khan Lodhi's life, told in his own words. It's just such a powerful testament to, well, human resilience, the ability to adapt to enormous change.
And the full spectrum of human experience, really.
Right.
Moments of deep joy and personal success, alongside periods of profound sorrow and loss, all playing out against these huge historical shifts in the subcontinent.
Precisely. And you, our listener, you've had this unique chance to get insight into a life lived right through those pivotal moments from colonial India to the early formative decades of Pakistan.
It's a deeply personal story, but it illuminates those bigger historical changes in a way that, standard history books often can't. It gives a human face.
So as you reflect on this deep dive into Mr. Lodhi's memoir, we'll leave you with this thought. What specific parts of his personal story resonated most with you? How do they connect with your own understanding of those broader historical events, or maybe just the universal human experiences of change, loss, and carrying on?
And perhaps most fundamentally, what is his clear, deeply felt desire to record his life, to share it, tell us about that enduring human need? That need to be remembered.
Yeah. We encourage you to think about the details, the anecdotes, those moments of both happiness and hardship, and how they contribute to a richer appreciation of the past and ultimately the enduring strength of the human spirit.